Welcome to Action Coaching. Certainly we're delighted that you join us on today because we believe that God has a special coaching word for you. Before I start into the Action Coaching, I want you to make sure you hit subscribe and like and let others know about Action Coaching. What we do on Action Coaching is we try to share some important coaching tips with you so that you can continue to grow, develop, and live your best life now. Nobody makes it without a coach, a mentor. All of us need somebody that have already achieved something to kind of keep us on the road to going ultimately where we want to go. So that's the purpose of Action Coaching, and certainly I want you to make sure that you do that and let others know about Action Coaching, because like I say, when you get these coaching tips, you can apply them to your life and you can just move on up the road and begin to develop those things that God have already placed in you. Now this week on Action Coaching, I'm going to talk about something. Sounds simple when I say it, but it is difficult for a lot of people to do. And I'm going to entitle this, The Plan. I'll say that again, the plan. Now understand, for anybody to develop anything successfully, there has got to be a plan. Most people want to start stuff and don't have a plan. What's the expression? If you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And a lot of people want to start things, especially they'll run over everywhere and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And consequently, they ain't got a plan for none of it. I don't care whether you're an athlete, you're a scientist, or whatever you do, you got to have a plan. And God has created us with the divine plan. God got a plan for all of our lives. And there are things that people are destined to do, but they got to make it through the plan. And a lot of people do not want to follow the plan. You can't even build a building or do anything without a plan. Isn't it amazing? Before you decide to build a building, the first thing you got to get is the architectural plan. And bottom line is, even for the architect can draw the plans, somebody got to come to the architect and tell him what they kind of see in their mind and what they kind of want it to look like. But however, it's going to take the plan to make it work in reality. And a lot of people don't have a plan. Isn't it amazing how many people are walking around and they're not planning to do anything in their life? Some people are just saying, well, I'm just taking it day by day. Well, you can't take it day by day. You got to have a plan. Well, I'll just see down the road. Well, how you going to get down the road if you ain't got a plan to get down the road? If you don't have a plan, you don't even know where you're going. So you have to understand that God has a plan. Let me just share this testimony with you. When I was born at Grady Hospital, the doctors told my mother that they believed I had leukemia and I wouldn't have long to live. And needless to say, when you tell a mother something like that, it just had their first child. I'm the first child. So you know what the joy of it is, you have your first child, but then you get this devastating news. And then my mother went to a chapel in the hospital, and she began to pray and cried to God for me because she was so devastated at the news the doctor had told her. And she said that a lady told her that if you give your son to God, God is going to save him. Now notice, I'm just being born. I ain't even got nothing to do with that plan. But here was the plan that God had. And my mother then, she said she prayed and gave me to God. And of course, the rest is his story. I didn't say history, I said his story. God's story. Now, All of that, can you imagine my mother watching me all these years growing up? And the way I was growing up, I was anything but God using me. That just wasn't going to happen. I was into everything and trying to enjoy everything that I could. However, God had a plan. And God began to put me in different places in life. And ultimately, his plan came to pass because God already had a plan for my life. How many of you have actually sat down and created a plan for your life? Some people are saying, well, I want to be a great painter or artist. Well, what's your plan? Or I want to be a great airline pilot. What's your plan? Or I want to be an inventor. What is your plan? It has to be a plan. And in order to succeed, one has to stick to the plan. Now, number one, you got to get a plan. I don't care whether it's having a successful restaurant, clothing store, well, you got to have a plan. You got to go find out where it's going to be, what you need to do, how many things you need to have working before you can go do what you want to do. But there must be a plan. When the plan is executed right, you don't have to worry about getting the desired results. Now, what's the first thing that has to happen in a plan? You gotta be prepared to go through the process. A lot of people, first thing they do is look at the end goal. Well, I want to be famous. No, what you want to be is learn what you need to learn to be famous. Rather than running all the way to the end, that ain't gonna happen. Most people don't like the process of anything. Even if you say something to people today that God's showing you a vision, you can tell them today and they expect you to have it tomorrow. And they will criticize you if it don't happen as quick as they think it's supposed to. But if something's going to last a long time, it's got to be planned. It's got to be well thought out. How do you think you have skyscrapers downtown that's been there for 30 years, still standing, not swayed by the weather? Rain don't bother them. They're still standing tall because somebody planned for all of that. Somebody that just say, I'm going to throw up a skyscraper and then I have a plan and expect it to withstand the things that life and an environment can issue you out. And a lot of times when we plan, we don't want to go through the process because if you're ultimately going to look like the plan, there's going to be some building, and we like to call that the process. There are going to be some things you have to go through to be stronger, to be more skilled, so that you will be able to withstand the things that come along with your dream. A lot of people don't know. It's harder to stay there than it is to get there. Because once you get there, there are a whole lot of things that if you hadn't planned on and worked on and developed in yourself, you won't be there alone. But a lot of people don't want to go through the process, even in the ministry. Sometimes people want to get saved on Sunday. They want to get a call to be a minister of God on Monday. They want to be an evangelist on Tuesday. They want to be a bishop probably on Wednesday. They want to be an apostle on Thursday. And by Friday, they want to have a whole worldwide ministry with everything flowing. They don't want to plan but nothing. They don't want to go through the process. They don't want to go through learning the necessary things and doing the necessary things so that you will be equipped to fit into the plan that God has for you, or either you have saw in a vision. Everything has to be planned. I am thankful to God that when I first was in a church, that they asked me to do nothing. They didn't ask me to do nothing, so what I had to do was start at the bottom. Now, I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm going to talk about that part, and I'll be right back to talk to you. I left off talking about when I first got in church. They didn't ask me to do anything. I wasn't no deacon. I wasn't no Sunday school teacher. I didn't even get to read the announcements and that. I started at the bottom, or whatever the bottom was. I was on the team, clean up the church. You know, hey, they count on me cleaning up the church. I clean up the church. Or then we used to have tent meetings during that time. I was part of the team. They set the tents up. And all of that, and we threw the sawdust down, and then we get out there and wave signs and tell people that we having a tent revival, God is moving. I was a part of that team. Then every week I came to church. I was just a member of the congregation. I enjoyed the sermon, worshiped the Lord. Nobody asked me to do anything. I didn't read announcements or anything, but still it was a plan. I spent my time, I was learning the Bible. They told us we need to learn the Bible. I was learning the Bible. You know, not because I was aspiring to be a preacher. They just told me I need to learn the Bible, so I learned the Bible. I would take courses on learning the Bible. I wasn't aspiring to be no preacher. I was just doing what they told me to do. But it was all in God's plan. So when God called me to do what I'm doing today, it wasn't like God just called me haphazardly. He just picked me up somewhere and said, well, you go do this. Certain things that I had the plan for and had went through the process of learning, they fit right into what I was supposed to do. I want to say to you, God got a plan. And sometime in life, certain things have to happen to you to keep you from deviating away from the plan that God got for you. Most people are working on something they're not called to do. And they spend their life frustrated with that. Very few times do you get an opportunity to actually plan and have a purpose for working on what God actually has destined you to do. And so you remember I talked about you got to have a plan. And you got to go through the process. To understand, when I said in the process, you learn a lot by adversity, going through hardships. Sometime in life you go up the wrong road and realize you spend a lot of time up the wrong road, and sometimes you have to bag up all the way down that road to come up the right road. That's called the process. You go through that process because that process is helping you to learn. I've grown from a lot of things I went through. Some of the things that I thought were hurting me were teaching me that I didn't necessarily need those things to fulfill the destiny that God had in my life. I lost friends. I thought that was devastating. I wasn't gonna ever have any more friends, but I had to learn this world is full of a whole lot of people that we are all destined to meet and have lifetime relationships with them. That's just the process of things. There have been things I strived to do and fell flat on my face, but that was a part of the process. Things I endeavored to get in, I had no ability to do that. Somebody should hit me upside the head and say, what are you doing? But I learned. I learned focus. I learned to stay in my lane. I learned to do what I was gifted by God to do. Ultimately, that is what worked in my life. I believe that in life, Sometimes you have to go through things to when you reach that ultimate plan and purpose for your life. Then you are settled in your heart. You don't think you missed anything or you did anything wrong because you're right where God wants you to be. And it's called the plan of God. I have had things. The things were going wonderful on one hand and the bottom was falling out on the other hand. That was the plan of God. Help me to trust God more. Endure the process. Keep on striving and going. So I want to submit to you in this coaching session. You got to get a plan first. And second, when you get that plan, you got to be willing to go through the process. Most people just stay stuck on the plan, but don't want to go through the process. If you want to be a great physical specimen, now that's a good plan. That's what you want to be. But you know what's going to come next? You're going to have to do all of the exercise, the running, the work, the dieting, all of those things that you need to do to fulfill that plan that you want to do. And once you fulfill that plan, you go through the process, then the purpose will be worked out. You know, it's amazing. Nobody just jump up and run real fast. But however, they may be gifted with a little bit of skill, but however, they can run to somebody else that's working every day to run faster, working every day to equip themselves to be even faster. And when you think you can run against them, they run right on off and leave you. So you got to remember, it's time to plan. No matter what's happening in life, no matter where you are right now, it's never too late to sit down and come up with a plan. Don't have to be a big plan, just a plan. Start right where you are. And when you put that plan in place, then the process will begin to take place. Isn't it amazing that whenever you write something down as a plan, the whole body reacts with a sense of urgency? Meaning if you say, I got to be somewhere at 1 o'clock, then pretty much all the rest of that day to the next day, you think about, I got this meeting at 1 o'clock and I got to be there. And your body starts adjusting. You be saying, I'm going to leave at 12 so I can get there at 1 o'clock. I already know the traffic. I already know plan for this. So I know that I got to be there at 1 o'clock because the sense of urgency is in me. That's what a plan do for you. And whatever plan you have in life, it gives you a great sense of urgency. You want to have a successful business, then you got to plan to have a successful business. When God gave me a vision, then I started ministry. One of no members there, but I showed up at the time Sunday school supposed to start, church supposed to start. And I would clean the building up and had no janitorial staff. I had a plan. I had to execute that plan. So I had to go through the process. I had to do things and watch that plan develop. And when it began to develop, it developed because I had a plan. I went through the process and ultimately the purpose was fulfilled. What is your plan today? Sit down, reach out to me. Social media, all the platforms, and let me know what you are planning so I could pray with you. So I could pray that you stay with the plan so that you make it through the process. Ultimately, you will fulfill your purpose. So I want to hear from you. I want you to reach out to me. It's all right, this is the plan, and I'm starting it. Don't want you to go anywhere. I'll be right back to talk to you.
Got to be lions. We got to understand what the real purpose of the saints is and why you were born again. Just tap somebody and say, you here to take over. Whatever job you own, you there to take over. Whatever community you live in, you there to take over. you go. You're there to take over.
Welcome back. Certainly enjoyed the coaching session on today. We talked about a plan. I know that you're stirred up right now. You're going to reach out to me and let me know your plan so I can be praying with you. And you're going to do that plan. You're going to go through the process. And ultimately, you're going to fulfill your purpose. And guess what? You know who's going to be the most satisfied person when you do that? You. We ain't trying to satisfy nobody else because you're going to satisfy you. Do it for you and watch how much joy you'll have when you go through those 3 stages. Now I want to encourage you to sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. Action Coaching needs your support so that we can continue coaching other people and we can make Action Coaching big and better. We got other things we want to do with Action Coaching, and we'll believe in God as soon as the finances come in. We already got the plan, and we need you to support us on today. So sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering for the support of Action Coaching. There's a link in my bio that will give you a host of ways to give unto Action Coaching, and I want you to do it now. Sow that seed now. All the platforms are there. You can sow that seed and help us continue to coach others and coach you, because Action Coaching is blessing so many people. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for helping us here as we continue to coach people to great things. Well, the Lord bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of Action Coaching. And as I do each and every week, I want to encourage you. Share the word with a friend and keep the word in action.